You're looking at the waiver wire for a wide receiver. You're looking at all the names, and you see the rookie wide receiver, Xavier Legette, had a good week last week. You remember him from the NFL draft. You're wondering what to do with him for fantasy football, whether to pick him up, stay away, maybe even start him a few games. You're wondering what to do with Xavier Legette. Today, we're going to look at his advanced data. We're going to look at his situation, everything else, and see whether or not you need him for fantasy football. Give you the information so you can make the best choice for your fantasy football team. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now, because we're doing these deep dives every day. We're talking about the waiver wire every day. We're using these videos too later in the week to help you set your lineups. Click that button. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching you. Do not disappoint him. But Xavier Legette had himself a week in week 4 against the Cincinnati Bengals. 22.1 PPR fantasy points, scored 12 in week 3, 14 in week 1. So he's actually been productive during his rookie season. Like the most quiet production of any rookie wide receiver this year, it's been from Xavier Legette. Honestly, because the Carolina Panthers, due to Bryce Young, has been weird. But Xavier Legette here is Legetting it on the football field. And we're going back to his high school recruiting days. Wasn't a heavily sought after recruit, but one of the best athletes in the country. Tennessee was after him, went to South Carolina, received a fair amount of offers because it was more than what was noted on 24/7 Sports. We had a long career because Xavier Legette went through a lot of things. Both his parents passed away while he was in high school. On top of that, we had some injuries mixed in there, but we got it done in 2023. So an older senior with 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. But he showed off the goods on the field. He was racking up the yards. Here's him talking about his parents. He had both of them pass away during high school, which impacted the start of his collegiate career, I believe, because that would impact me, and I believe it would impact you. But we're looking at what he did against some of the top competition here. Went off against Florida, went off against North Carolina, Mississippi State. Had some standout performances over the course of his career. We're mainly focusing on 2023. That's where he had his production. A 13.8 average depth of target. 451 yards after the catch. That ADOT lets us know that he can stretch it deep downfield. That he can get downfield, command those targets. So that lets us know in the NFL game that he has the potential to do so. And we knew that for sure once we got to the NFL draft, because that dude hit 4.39 40-yard dash at 221 pounds, a thick wide receiver with a lot of size. He can hit in the 4.3s, 6'1", 221 pounds. Day 3 at the Senior Bowl, a lot of people were suspect on his route running. Day 3 at the Senior Bowl, he was breaking off routes against some of the best cornerbacks in the country in practice. Looking good. Xavier Legette has a lot of upside, a lot of room to grow his game, a lot of room to develop, but Xavier Legette here has some speed to burn. He's good after the catch. That's what Canales was looking at when he drafted him in the first round of this year's draft. He saw the upside. He saw what he already had at wide receiver. This is a different piece that gives him something different in the offense. And you look at this wide receiver depth chart, Adam Thielen's going to be out for some time. Xavier Legette has been scoring fantasy points even with Thielen there. Jonathan Mingo enters the chat because he's very important in this offense. A very underrated piece that you may want to look at for deeper leagues. We'll look at him a little later, but we're looking at this offense. He's second in line for targets in his team with 19. Adam Thielen has 12. Mingo has 16. Of course, it's been the Deontay Johnson show. He's not going to usurp him. Johnson has been looking good, but Xavier Legette is a different animal. With that size-adjusted athleticism, him on crossing routes, him downfield, with that size around the goal line and the end zone, he's a different type of athlete. He plays fast. He's aggressive. He needs to add more to his game, but still, we're playing well right now, and we're able to adapt to the NFL level. We're already showing that. And going back to last week, he got targets. He got 10 of them in a 25% target share. We ran almost 90% of the routes. We got some air yards too, pushing 100 air yards in this game. We got a lot of volume. Andy Dalton liked looking his way. That's for sure. And Deontay Johnson, like always. I want to say Jonathan Mingo, though, getting a lot of work in this passing game. he is an underrated facet in this offense that could do something down the line in maybe a game or two. That might be something you want to play with in daily fantasy football, in large tournaments, if you want to mess around. Nothing really for your traditional redraft leagues, but that 90% route participation rate, plus what we saw in training camp, and with us seeing him get some work in the passing game. And when you look at his size-adjusted athleticism here, and him getting drafted in the early second round, he's got some comparables on the spreadsheet to Xavier Legette. Different players. He's more of a deep threat, more at the catch points, different type of player football-wise, but on the spreadsheet, even with the productive late in his NFL career, very similar size, very similar speed. He's a little slower, but the numbers pop. So there's something here with Jonathan Mingo. He was firing in training camp. I'm not looking at him for traditional redraft leagues. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying keep that name in the back of your head. And we're also looking at Andy Dalton because he's pushing the ball downfield in 2 games. Top 10 in deep ball attempts. In those 2 games, he's got 8 deep ball attempts, thrown it 20 yards or more. But he's up there with some of the top quarterbacks. He's aggressive with the ball. He's been accurate downfield. He's been spraying it around with accuracy. Andy Dalton has been the surprise of 2024. And I look for this to continue. But you look at the schedule going forward, not too enticing, but Xavier Legette's this guy that if he gets a few targets here and there, could just spring up fantasy points. He's not a guy that you're going to put that bet on every week because that's hard to do, especially with Deontay Johnson getting a large target share. But he's also a guy that can blow up on any Sunday. He's going to be an upside play, and he's also that wide receiver with enough talent to his game that could just turn over a leaf midway through the season and blow up for the rest of the year. He could be a league-winning wide receiver. So not only is he a pickup because he's just been productive, but he's also a wide receiver that could be a stash. If I'm going to stash a wide receiver, he's got to be like a first-rounder, and he's got to have some upside characteristic to his game. That size-adjusted athleticism, putting him on the field, and he does not have to be the guy breaking off the routes being the wide receiver one because you got that with Deontay Johnson, means that there's going to be some games here where he might get some opportunity here with Andy Dalton doing well that he could pop off like he did last week. He's already did it. So maybe that happens some more. He's a guy to at least stash. You don't need him. You don't want him. You rather stash running backs. You're good at wide receiver. He's not a guy you have to get. He's not a must get right now. But he is a guy if you're looking for rookie upside. If you're looking for rookie upside, you're trying to find it on the waiver wire, Xavier Legette is a guy to look at, especially for their bench to look at for week in, week out, play the matchups with. There's some upside here. This is a wide receiver that can turn it around or put the pedal to the metal, per se, for the rest of the season because he has that upside. It is immense. It is game-breaking. It's in his athleticism. It's also with how Andy Dalton runs the offense. He can spray it. He can pray it. He can push it downfield. And his offense is starting to turn over a new leaf, which could help Xavier Legette, who's already scoring fantasy points. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.